last 10 days have been incredibly cold with Arctic winds blowing down when suddenly we've moved from autumn to winter. I'm here in Bradgenich outside St Dyson's Church, and I'm very much looking forward in a moment to going in to enjoy being with their community choir who are busy rehearsing for their Christmas celebration this evening. But here at St Dyson's, they've actually been taking the sense of a warm welcome very seriously. And every Wednesday, from about 9 o'clock in the morning to 3 in the afternoon, they've been flinging open the doors of their community hall here and providing a warm place where people can come. They've been offering hot drinks, homemade soup, endless cake, there's magazines, there's books here, there's Wi-Fi, so that people can just come and be in a warm place. And this is something that's happening right across in so many of our churches in Devon, of people making a difference, recognising that at the moment, this is a way in which we can put the love of God into action and reach out to people in the name of Jesus Christ. Welcome is at the heart of the events of Christmas, or rather the lack of it. When Mary and Joseph made that long journey down to the city of David in Bethlehem, they discovered that there was no room for them in the inn. And I bet you bottom dollar, when they got into the stable, there wasn't any heat either, nor was there a nice mug of hot soup to greet them. I'm not an avid reader of psychology, least of all American psychology, but last month I came across an article which really interested me. It was called Gap-Induced Relatedness. And for all its highfalutin language and jargon, what it was actually describing were experiences that are common to us all. The theory was simple. We form the sort of relationships that we have by the way we view and manage the distance between ourselves and other people. So, for example, you're standing on a train platform late at night waiting for the last train, and you suddenly become aware of a stranger walking towards you. Now, depending on that person's behaviour and where they end up standing, you'll certainly feel anxious, but you actually may feel quite threatened and intimidated. And the one thing is certain is that you keep your distance. At the opposite end of the spectrum is the experience of intimacy. When we're unwell and we have to go and see our GP, there is an appropriate physical distance between ourselves and our doctor, except sometimes if we're very unwell, it requires a physical examination, then we allow that gap to close. Human need, and above all, trust in the other person, permits that gap to come closer. With our families and friends, we allow that gap to close completely out of love. At Christmas, a grandparent envelops their grandchild in a giant bear hug to wish them a happy Christmas. Gap-induced relatedness. It's how relationships work, it's how human beings work, it's how society works, or doesn't work, as the case may be. Remember that announcement on the London Underground? Mind the gap. What Christmas achieves and what the Epiphany makes manifest is God's initiative in closing the gap, the chasm between us. And God does this through his Son, Jesus Christ. At Christmas, God himself becomes human. God's living heart beats in this child lying in a manger, his extravagant, self-giving love, inviting our love in return. As St John puts it, in the beginning of his gospel, and the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and we have seen his glory. Jesus closes the gap between the mysterious, unknowable God and confused humanity. It's why this birth is such great news. It's good news to those of us who are fearful or hurting. It's good news to us for those of us who are estranged. It's good news for those of us who are not as confident as we may appear. It's good news for those of us who are fearful to take the first step in life. Emmanuel, God is with us. God is with us in the cold and the dark times, not just the happy times. God is with us in times of illness, in disappointment and loss, not simply in times of celebration and joy. God always closes the gap. As many people in our society face a difficult midwinter with food prices going up, escalating fuel bills, increased mortgage repayments. As they face these things, we need to find ways of reaching out hands of friendship and love to them in their need. We need to find ways of closing the gaps in our society. As St. John in his Gospel says of the birth of Jesus, he came to his own, and his own received him not. But to as many who did receive him, God gave them power to be children of God. I pray that this year you may have the experience of being a child of God, that experience of being held secure in the loving embrace of God. I wish you a very happy Christmas. Fantastic, great. Thank you so much.